Welcome to the Champions Podcast. This is your host, TJ Drake, Terry Drake, for those that don't know. Hey, I'm in the building with my main man, Korey Harris. What's going on, Cole?
Let's get it. Let's get it. TJ, my guy, my brother, my ace. Thank you so much for having me. Shout out to all the people out there that are tuned in. It's a blessing to be here with you, brother.
Man, welcome to the Champions Podcast, man. You know, when I was thinking about my guests for them, planning, I was like, I can't have no champion on here without having my boy Korey Harris on here, man. The ultimate champion.
That's right, baby. That's right. Still going.
Still going. That's what I'm talking about, man. So, welcome once again. Welcome to the Champions Podcast. To all those champions out there in the audience, thank you for joining tonight. I know we're rocking with you on a Sunday night, church and all the different things, and getting ready for Monday. But hey, look, we're gonna have a nice discussion here on the game of basketball, and who else knows where it goes. This is my brother. I mean, I love this guy. No notes. We just talking tonight. We just talk. We might talk about some everything tonight. We're just here talking. No notes, no nothing. So look, hey, there's gonna be a lot of stuff talked about tonight. If you are in Instagram, your YouTube, whatever the situation may be, go ahead and drop some comments, drop some questions. We're gonna get them on here tonight with my boy Cole. So Cole, tell the audience a little bit about you, man.
Man, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia.
Shout out today.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to hot Atlanta. Some people call it the Peach State. Some people, you ain't even from here, but you know, if you've been here long enough, shout out to you, because that's kind of what happens with people when they come down here. They don't leave. But like I said, born and raised. I love questions like that because a lot of people, they struggle to answer. You know, when people say, "Tell us about yourself," I love to draw some type of a lesson out of all my experiences. So even just being born here, being raised here, for me is a lesson, because you always have to be on your toes in a place like Atlanta, Georgia. And so a lot of my approach to player development, coaching, that's what I do. It's not who I am, but my approach to that comes from the fact that I'm from here. Single mom, like most of y'all probably watching and listening. Life was amazing as a kid. It wasn't easy, but always found a way to make something shake. Right. That's how my mother taught me. That's how I was raised. And so that's how, again, I approach the game. But I have a crazy story that we can probably get into later of how I even got into basketball. But I've been coaching and doing skill development now for 17 to 18 years. It'll be 18 this January. I've traveled the world, of course, coached overseas. Most recently, I've worked on the high school level this past season at Mount Pisgah Christian School. I've worked with children as young as 5 and 6 years old. And I've worked with, guys playing in the NBA and women playing in the WNBA. So every day is a blessing, brother, just to be here, be imparting knowledge and wisdom into people, and then be learning, from everyone that I'm coming into contact with every single day. So, man, I'm just thankful to be on this podcast with you, bro. I can't help but smile and laugh because I'm thinking about where this is going to go and all the funny stories we're going to be sharing.
Bro, I'm gonna go ahead and let you get the crazy story out before we get into all the other stuff, bro. Go ahead. How did you get involved in the game of basketball?
So I guess it's funny now looking back at it, but it wasn't funny to me. So I never played growing up, right? Like I never got an opportunity to even learn the game up until I was maybe like 13, 14 years old. So for me to be sitting here right now on a pod with my brother who's like very respected in this industry, you've impacted a lot of lives. I just give you your flowers, bro. Like it's an amazing feat just to think about how good God is, right? For me to come this far. So again, never played organized basketball. My first encounter with it was honestly just like the stories you hear, chain link fence, tar, barbed wire, you got to climb over this fence, climb under another one, cornbread rims, playing outside, right? And then when we couldn't get to that court, we're playing on, the literally like a Coke crate. Like we would go to the high school next door to the apartment complex and we would steal Coca-Cola. And when we finished the Coke, we would literally burn or use a lighter to melt the bottom of the crate out. And then we would stomp it and roll it. And then we would use like coat hangers and put it up on the fence of the tennis court in our apartment complex because nobody played tennis where we was growing up. So, that was our basketball court. And that's how I got introduced to the game. I didn't know none of your favorite players. I didn't watch basketball. Like Atlanta back in the late 80s and early 90s was football, baseball, wrestling, track was huge. There were not courts everywhere. There weren't any trainers or anything like that. So I thought I was going to be Deion Sanders or Barry Sanders or Ken Griffey Jr. or, you know what I mean? Like I never thought about being Kobe Bryant or anything like that. So, of course, I fell in love with the game. The bug bit me. Another young dude that lived in my neighborhood, he actually had the same name as me, except it's spelled with a C. Korey Harris. He played at the local high school, Osborne High School. He was the first person to put a basketball in my hands. And then his point guard, Brian Elmore, was the first person to like start teaching me the game. So I would stay and shoot on that outdoor hoop or be out there on those those crates for hours. And I would try out for the teams. I tried out 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and got cut every single year. And, I look at it now and I'm looking at where some of these kids are playing at. And I'm like, man, if I would have been born in a different like county, I might have been able to do something. But God bless them. I went to a really good high school, McEachern High School. We had guys like Josh Smith, who went and played for the Hawks, Morris Allman, who went and played for the Utah Jazz. Now younger dudes that came later, but Isaac Okoro, Sharif Cooper, like they came from that school as well. So we had Division I talent year in and year out while I was there. And it was just like a nightmare trying to make that team. You really had to love the game. And I didn't even know what that meant. Like I didn't know anything about off-season conditioning and invite-only workouts and showing up for scrimmages and things like that. So fast forward a little bit, I want to make sure I get the whole thing in. I never made the team. I went to school on an academic scholarship at Hofstra, and I was a little bit of a wild boy, so I got kicked out of college my first year. Come back home. I don't want other kids to make the same mistake I did. And a friend of my family said, man, come help me coach this team. And I said, oh, gee, like there ain't no way you asking me to do it. He said, no, before you shoot yourself short, you got more to offer than a lot of these other guys out here who think they know everything. He said, I need you. Come on, just bring your energy. That's all you need. And when I tell you, it was like a disease, like a virus. Like it literally just, I couldn't stop thinking about coaching. I couldn't stop, planning for it. I just wanted to do it every day. I had part-time jobs. I was in debt, $40,000, at 18, no degree, working at odd places, trying to make ends meet and pay off this debt so I could go back to school. And I would literally change clothes every day at 6 p.m. in the bathroom at the Ron Anderson Rec Center, like Superman, jump out and coach the kids. And, they're little kids, so they don't know that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm, just being loud and energetic. And I got a lot of love for them, a lot of passion. And it just caught on. Like parents started trying to send their kids to me. They wanted them to come early or stay late. And I said, man, Lord, like I got to get better at my craft. I don't know enough. And so this is how you and I got connected. I went to a coaching clinic down in Orlando, Florida. I saved up for it. I went online. First, I Googled it and I saw it was like $2,500. I was like, man, I ain't got 2,500 pennies. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get that, but I saved up. It took me a year and a half. Drove out there with like 2 boxes of Pop-Tarts and a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I ran out of gas when I got in the parking lot. No lie. Like they were doing valet at the front of the hotel. It was so nice where we stayed. I had like a 2003 Mercury Sable. I said, bro, I couldn't pay you enough to park this. Like, you don't want to get in this. He was parking Porsche 911s and McLarens. I'm like, nah. So I went and with my last little like drop of gas, got to the back of the parking lot, had to walk like a half mile back to the front of the hotel. But man, it was the best decision I ever made because, obviously met Gannon Baker, got a hold of his curriculum, met coaches like yourself, Damon Altizer, Tyler Relf, so many others who at that same time back in 2009, 2010, we were all just like hungry to learn the game from who at the time was the leader, in our industry. And I just went back home feeling like I had just, I don't know, drunk some crunk juice or something. Like I was ready to take on the world, because now I got information. Now I have, I've been vulnerable in front of people. I made some mistakes at that camp, but I also had a brotherhood of other coaches now in different states that I felt like I could lean on when I had questions. And so every year I just kept going back either to that particular conference or somewhere else, and things grew. And in 2012, Lonnie Edwards, I used to train his daughter, Lene Edwards. She's in college now, but she was a elementary or middle schooler at the time. I was training her in a gym. It was like 10 p.m. in the middle of Atlanta. I never forget it. And he was like, brother, you train my daughter 2-3 times a week. You're driving over an hour away. Like, what do you want to do? Is this it? Like, you look like you can still play. And I said, man, I gave that up. I told him, I was like, all right, I'm just, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving my all into this. He said, I know, man, but I feel like God's got something for you. He said, I want to help you. And I said, well, you could pay me more. That would help me. He was like, no. He said, no, it's better than that. And so he said, I'm going to call 2 coaches for you. One was at a school called Georgia Southwestern. I think that's like a D2 school or maybe a D3 in South Georgia. And then he said, there's another school in Santa Cruz, California called Cabrillo College. And the coach there, Tony Markopoulos, he coached me. He used to coach at University of Pacific, Michael Olowokandi, some other good players that were there. He said, he's the head coach now. He said, it's an NAIA school, JUCO. I said, man, I'm thankful. Whatever you could do, I appreciate it. So the first coach didn't even pick up the phone. Tony picked up the phone. He said, send me the kids' stuff. Terry, when I tell you all I had was like this sorry little mixtape I tried to make from this men's league, the coach was like, he don't have no other film. I was trying to like make more film and because I would play and I know like, man, if I send him that, like, it ain't. But he took a chance on me. He said, man, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is a true story. He said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but something is telling me I need to give you a shot. And now, I'm a spiritual guy, T, just like you. I'm a believer. The coach didn't believe. And he just said, like, I feel something is telling me this is what I'm supposed to do. T, was the hardest year, of my basketball career. I didn't know X's and O's, brother. Again, I never played. So I didn't know like spacing. I didn't understand defense. I didn't understand terminology. I didn't understand like just how to be a good teammate. I was training and coaching kids. I was an AAU coach. I worked in the community. Like I'm supposed to be the epitome of all the things I'm teaching the kids. And now this is my trial by fire. But you know what? I knew that I needed to do this so I could be a better teacher. And it's nothing against the coaches out there that haven't played. But I knew for myself, there is no way that I can speak with conviction to another player. There's no way that I can hold a player accountable. There's no way I can look them in their eyes and speak to their soul if I myself have not gone through the gauntlet. So that first year was rough. I didn't get off the bench. I might have averaged like 4 minutes a game. I think for the first 20 games, I shot 100% from the field because I would take one shot and make one shot every game. They used to have a running joke about it, like, we should play Korey more because no miss. Like, just leave him in the game. So we made the Sweet 16 of the California JUCO tournament. Same conference that the Last Chance U school was on, that last season of Last Chance U. We played against that school when I was there. So I was blessed to get a 4-year offer from a 4-year school in Minnesota. It was a D3 school, Christian college. Excuse me for the background noise. They needed a point guard. So a friend of a friend, he first came to me and asked me, man, I just got off the phone with a legendary coach who said that you could come and basically be a walk-on and earn a scholarship. I was like, who are you talking about? He said, Roy Williams at North Carolina, like the Tar Heels. I said, man, I cussed him. I was like, man, if you don't get off my line playing with me, he's like, no, this is serious. You could come. They just need a guy, da, da, da. And I said, what are you saying? And he was like, well, you wouldn't play. He was like, you wouldn't play you know, you'd have to, you know, basically be a walk-on practice player. And then, you know, after your 4 years, you'd be given a GA spot. And man, like, I remember when I told one of my teammates, he was like, bro, you got to take that. And I was like, well, I got this other school though that, you know, is saying I could come and play. Like I could have a real role on the team. He saw me play and he still wants me. Like he ain't seen my film and was like scared off. And my teammate was like, bro, nah, man, you got to go with UNC. And I called my friend back. His name was Ryan Goodson. He's still doing skill development training in the North Carolina area. Shout out to Ryan. I said, Ryan, man, I appreciate you so much for thinking about me, bro, and even mentioning my name to Coach Roy. But I said, I'm going to tell you this. I know somewhere deep down inside of me, like I'm an impact player. Like I know if somebody just bets on me, I can figure this thing out. I was teaching myself how to read playbooks. I was watching film. None of my teammates did any of that. I would beg the coach, like, just show me how to diagram every play we got. If you could do that with me, I'm good. Show me how to like create drills based off of what I need to know as the guard coming off the ball screen on this side, a pin down on that side. Like, I just need to know. And when I made that decision to go to Minnesota instead of UNC, it was the best decision of my life because I went there and now I had real pressure. I had, you know, went through the JUCO experience. Now I'm playing Division III, but I'm playing with guys who like they lack any type of like grit. And I had some good teammates there who had it, but for the most part, we were just so young and inexperienced that now I was like the only one who had any real basketball experience. So now I'm the captain. Now I'm starting. Now I'm like being asked to make decision after decision after decision after decision. And my game and just my confidence began to rise. I made mistakes. Like, T, you know me, I'm super vulnerable. I led the nation in turnovers. Like, no lie, real spill, Synergy still got it somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I got on Synergy, I was like refreshing the page. Like, there's no way, like, they don't got all the games on here. No. But for real, no, I was dead last in turnovers, assisted turnover ratio as well. And I remember just being frustrated and knowing like I got to change up how I'm approaching the game. And so I went home in between those seasons before I was going to return. And I stopped working out the way I was working. I stopped focusing on just doing a bunch of drills and I started hooping more. I went and played against guys that were way better than me. I got over my anxiety of like, a lot of it was just performance anxiety, like being afraid to make a mistake. So therefore you make the mistake. Like you attract whatever you think about the most. And so like really just doing some internal work, but also getting better as a player. Get ready to go back to school. School shuts down. I'm like, you can't make this up. Like school shuts down for financial reasons. I'm doing roofing and construction. And I get a call. One of the schools we played against, the coach was like, hey, man, you gave us a triple-double. I'm the coach at Trinity Bible College. Like, I heard you got a hardship waiver because the school shut down. I need a point guard. So I go from Minnesota, middle of nowhere, to North Dakota. Oh, Lord Jesus. I thought I had seen the worst out there in Rochester. Man, like shout out to North Dakota. Beautiful countryside, beautiful people, but it ain't built for us, TD. It just ain't. So get out there, man. And honestly, it was an amazing experience. Great 2 years. You know, we went to a national championship my junior year. I played alongside the National Player of the Year on the ACCA and NCCAA level. We also competed with D3s and D2s. My second year, I was a second team All-American. There was some adversity there, got injured in the middle of the season, but bounced back from it. But all in all, brother, from going from the end of the bench to the guy that is sitting in the coach's office and cutting up film with him and telling him how we need to cover pick and rolls and making game winners, missing game winners, you know, like that whole stretch and just that 4 or 5 year period of getting a chance to play, like I didn't even know if I was going to ever play. Like at one point, when I was really chasing it and calling coaches and sending out my film, and I tried out for more than 10 schools. You know, I traveled from Atlanta to Virginia to Alabama to the Carolinas to Tennessee. Like I did everything in my power, and it took a conversation with a preacher whose daughter I was training for my career to actually start. And you know, now coaching overseas in China with Stephon Marbury, uh, you know, the high school levels, the AAU levels, volunteering as an assistant on the college level for a little while, and doing skill development with pros. Like you always say it, your pain is your power. It's how you look at it, right? You can't have the power without the pain. And so, you know, I had to walk that desert sand. I had to go through what I felt like at the time was trying to break me, but honestly, it was just building me. It was making me better. So sorry for the long, drawn out, you know, story, but yeah, hopefully that helps people to better understand how we got where we are now, and you know why I'm so animated.
Hey, well, first of all, let me just welcome my audience again. So I want to welcome the champions audience. All those champions out there tuning in tonight, I welcome you to the Champions Podcast. I got my brother on tonight. I got my brother, my dear brother. This I hold him dear to my heart, Korey Harris. I'll have no notes here. We're just kicking it here. We're just talking. You might hear anything on this podcast tonight. Uh, but I want to just let you know, if you have any questions, any comments, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm back and forth on IG and checking out the chats on YouTube and on Twitter. I mean X and those different things like that. So go ahead and drop questions, comments, and we would definitely be able to get them on here tonight with my brother Korey. I'm over here literally in tears, man, because I've heard a lot of this stuff before. And just to see you share it with the world is just it's humorous to me, because they like, once again, going back to the Gannon Vegas scheme. How long ago was that? 2000 and what?
That'd be like 2010.
2010, yeah, right, man. We was in Orlando, Florida, bro. I remember that car. I was praying that you got home safely.
For sure.
Bro, we made so many mistakes down there. But I want to take one thing from what you said earlier, and I want to encourage somebody out there tonight. Somebody out there didn't make their 7th grade team, didn't make the 8th grade team, but you're looking at somebody in Korey Harris who didn't make the 6th grade team, the 7th grade team, the 8th grade team, the 9th grade team, the 10th grade team, 11th grade team, 12th grade team, but still played collegiate ball and went over and was coaching in China. And now he works out, trains NBA players, WNBA players. We've done a lot of work together, man. I think that one of the greatest moments that you and I've had, we've had some moments, but Kevin Powell allowed us to be the lead trainers at a girls' camp, and it was absolutely amazing, where we had the opportunity to train some of the top talent in the nation at that time, but none other than Asia Wilson. Right. Man, share with the Champions audience what that was like for you and I, man. I mean, because I know you'll be able to speak for both of us.
Yeah, that was such a crazy weekend when I think back about it, because first off, you know, at the time we were all just so thankful to be working with someone like a Gannon Baker, and you know, doing it was kind of the closest thing to like the Nike Skill Academies, because, you know, they had discontinued those. That wasn't really the direction that the shoe companies were going in anymore. It was kind of starting to transition to where it is now, you know, where everybody has their own kind of camp type thing, exposure event. And so, you know, I had never done anything to that magnitude at that point. That was my first like super big camp. And we were obviously here in Atlanta, so, you know, that made it a lot more, you know, there was this tension, you know, all the coaches could travel in, you know, it's an international airport. So, you know, you have more energy. And I didn't know anything about the women's game as far as the grassroots level, like the players. I didn't know any names. You know, I saw Taya Cooper every day at the Ron Anderson Rec. So she was the only real like prospect that I saw every day, worked around every day, or even worked with before. Asia Wilson and some of the other girls that were there, I never even heard of them. So I remember walking in and seeing like Dawn Staley's assistant, Lisa Boyer, and seeing Coach Kim Mulkey in the stands, and some of Gino's staff in there. I think Cheryl Swoops was in attendance. Ivory Lotta was there, and then of course you have Coach Danielle Viglione, who now coaches in the WNBA. She's working the camp with us, and there was a bunch of other just coaches from all around that Gannon had kind of assembled to work this event, or Kevin maybe had put them together to work this event. And I remember Gannon had to leave like in the middle of the camp. Like he's doing his thing. We've all kind of come to like know what to expect because we're working with him frequently at this point. You're traveling with him, I'm traveling with him at times. You had him come to Alabama. So it's like we kind of know, all right, he gonna start with a quote. He gonna have a bunch of energy. It's gonna be some ball handling. It's gonna be some, like he gonna have all the baskets going. You got to get in where you fit in. Yeah. If you work in an event with GB, like he likes people who are flexible. You can get up and demonstrate, cool, but you also got to be able to run your station, and you got to be able to have everything flowing. It can't be like stops and you talking too much. It's got to be popping. So like I remember. We would get there early, you and I, and we're talking, and Gannon hits us and is like, hey, I double booked. I forgot that I have an event, another camp I got to go to in like another country. I don't know if he went to Africa or he went, to Asia, a different continent. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. But I just remember thinking to myself, like, Korey, you got two choices. You either going to be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you're going to wet the bed or you going to turn up. You know what I mean? Because this could be an opportunity. And it wasn't like this is an opportunity for me to get a college job, or it was like really just an opportunity to see if I knew my stuff. You know what I mean? And see if like you and IT could like step in and really step up. Because at that point, like Gannon would give us like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or, the opportunity to pop in and like, maybe call out some players in a moment where maybe we need to pick the energy up or even like celebrate a player or something. But it was never like, you got it. You running the show. And I remember that first segment, we had the speaker going, we turned the music on, and we were just like, let's just flow. Like we doing now. No. Look, T, I'm finna get them going with the ball handling. We're gonna put on some instrumentals. And just rock with me. So we do that. The gym jumping. Like I remember Ivory Lotta, I made eye contact with her one time, and she got them bug eyes. DMX, like female DMX, she'd like, yeah. Like, I'm like, okay, all right. Then we get into the next segment. You got them with the driving kick. Then we turn the driving kick into another consecutive action. Now we competing out of it. Oh my goodness. It was chef's kiss. It was just like, the best possible outcome that you could have. And then, like you said, you got Asia Wilson, you got all these other great players there who now are like, they're impacted by our energy. Like they're feeling it. They feel a connection with you now. Now they're talking with you to the side. They're asking you like, how can they get better at their game? They're learning your name. They want to know like, how can they stay connected with you? And you're developing real relationships. And so that for me was like one of the most pivotal moments in my young coaching career, because I had never like crossed that line where real professional coaches who did this for a living thought seriously about like our craft, at least not to me. Like I seen Gannon and how he interacted with those high level coaches. Yeah. But I never had that. And so like when Kim Mulkey came up to me in the coaches lounge, and introduced herself, I was like, wow, like, like, okay, this is for real, and Dawn Staley's assistant, like, gave us her contact info and was like, look, if you're in South Carolina, come to a practice, and then like you said, Asia, like just that was a very pivotal moment. And for me and you, I felt like we got closer because it was the first time, like I said, we were on that platform, but yet Gannon wasn't the guy. It was like he entrusted us and we carried the letter. You know, we finished it. We got it to the finish line. There was no like need for anybody else to step in and rescue the day or anything like that. So that was an amazing time, brother. Like I still talk to Asia to this day just from that camp. You know what I mean? So I'm super grateful that Gannon double booked and had to go to Africa, you know, because we got closer and then some relationships were established and, you know, a lot of confidence was gained. But it was a tough one. We didn't get paid much. I remember that. I remember like feeling great. Yeah. And we get outside and we like, all right, you know, we texting him, like letting him know everything's straight. Shout out to you, Gannon. Boy, you cold with it, man. I don't know how you used to get us at them camps.
Boy, he was getting his money.
McDonald's money. You know what I'm saying? I went and probably filled my tank and got a Happy Meal and called it a day.
But we was putting in that work though, boy.
Yes, sir. You got to go through that, man. You got to go through that.
And speaking of that, man, how do you feel about, I mean, thinking about that, there's such a level in the sense of entitlement with today's players.
Sure.
There are players, even coaches that don't want to, you know, put in their dues, as they say. What do you think about that? And why is the game, the players and the coaches, why has that been such a mindset that's been created and that they deal with or that they carry players and coaches?
Yeah. You know, I never blame kids because kids are always a reflection of their environment, the people around them, the things that impact them, right? We teach kids how to respond to stimuli. So, you know, I look at the older generation, you know, ourselves and the people before us, and I see a lot of entitlement in them, right? And then I also see just how quickly we make certain things accessible that at one point in time you really had to fight for, you really had to work for. And, you know, that's a good part of advances in society, but there's also a negative to that. And like you said, it is entitlement. You know, we all lack patience, you know, whether that's you expect your food, you know, at the restaurant, you know, in 5 minutes, if it's a sit down spot, in 1 to 2 minutes, if it's a fast food spot, you know, we all have Wi-Fi. So it's like, you know, my phone better work as soon as I, you know, hit this button. I don't want to, if I see it even spinning for 1 second, I'm like, you know, what's going on, right? It wasn't like that at one point. And I think it's not by design that, you know, kids are expecting so much. But it's just the nature of things and how it flows when things are not regulated. And so I even thought recently about, you know, how I got into the training game. I went and sought out mentorship. I sought out you. I sought, you know, Gannon. I sought the companionship of a community of like coaches and trainers to kind of like be my buffer and make sure that I was like handling myself correctly. Like I didn't want to disrespect the craft, you know, and if you didn't do that, you were almost looked at as you don't belong. You know what I mean? It was you couldn't fool people the way that I feel like you can now. And again, like it's not necessarily the fault of the 20-year-old aspiring trainer or the recent college graduate who's starting his business on Instagram and he's just posting and saying, hey, I'm charging $60 an hour, you know, for workouts, but yet he doesn't even know how to develop a player. He doesn't know like anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it's their fault. I just feel like, you know, we haven't done a good enough job of sharing maybe some of these like struggles we've had, or even laying like a template down and reaching back and saying, you know, hey, this is how you can avoid some of the pitfalls, or here's how you can do things better than I did it. And then that affects our kids. Like rather than telling, you know, Daquan, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread because he's dunking at 12 or 13. Like, Daquan, you're doing a great job, or you have a potential, you have a future, but here are all the things that have to even just work for you to get where you want to get to. Like, I look at kids now, before they even leave the gym or before they even go from one game of AAU to the next, they're trying to check their phone just to see if their highlights have been posted, or the videographer, like they can pay for their own videographer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just me saying that their videographer, like I it's ridiculous, but it's the nature of the beast. But I don't think it will stay that way. I think as long as the pendulum swings one way, it has to swing back. That's just the natural flow of things. So you see that with like the NBA and Adam Silver announcing that they're going to, discontinue the G League Ignite, and they're talking about AAU. Like everyone recognizes that there's something wrong, but what comes next is obviously going to be something that's going to be abrupt, and it's going to like kind of knock everyone kind of off their square a little bit, but then eventually it'll settle. It'll find a happy medium.
Yeah. Once again, I'm joined tonight with my very special brother, Korey Harris, out of ATL, Hot Atlanta. You're on Instagram, you're on IG, you're on X, you're on YouTube. Go ahead, drop comments in the chat. You have any comments, any questions from a guest tonight, Korey Harris? I'll definitely get them on. But Cole, let me ask you this, man. There's some parents out here tonight that's looking, and they've been searching and going around looking for the trainers and different things like that, and they've been here, they've been there. What should a parent look for when they're looking for a trainer?
Yeah, that's a great question, T. I think number one, as a parent, you first of all have to know your child. So every trainer doesn't fit every kid, just like every kid doesn't fit, like if we're talking about schools, like, all right, I want to send my kid to a private school. Well, does your kid benefit from being in a smaller class size? Does your kid benefit from some type of like super concentrated, accelerated learning where it's a lot of pressure? Like parents seem to put way more thought into like what they feed their kids, where they send them to school, the shows they expose them to. If they're going to let them have a phone at a certain age, they put way more thought into that than they do like who they allow to be around their kid solo for like hours every single week. Like as a trainer, I've found in my own life, like I have more influence sometimes than parents. You know what I mean? Like I literally get to manipulate in a good way, but still manipulate and bend the mind of a child to hopefully inject confidence and will and, resilience. So as a parent, I would say that you need to make sure that you know who is like pouring into your child. And you obviously have to do some homework. You can talk with other people. You can look at reviews, but you got to really like pay attention to the character of that person. Then number two, staying in that same vein, I would ask the parents, just because that male or female coach, like just because they work with NBA players, that might not be what your child needs. Like if your child's on a similar path, then maybe that's good. But if your child is maybe just trying to learn the game for the first time, then the style of that coach might not fit their needs at this moment. Like working with an NBA player or a WNBA player or even just a college player is vastly different from working with a kid who's picking up a basketball for the first time. The level of patience, the level of grace, the tonality, the communication skills, they are, I'm not saying you can't be good at both, but they are completely different. And sometimes people are just after flash. So like they see you working with, a high level player and they think my son or daughter is going to become that same thing. And it's like, no, like actually in my 17 years of doing this, I've seen that I can almost like look at a kid's bone structure and body type and the way that they retain information and how they respond to critique and criticism. Like I can tell a lot of times if they're going to peak out and become one of those high level players or not. And it's not to be arrogant, but once you kind of see enough, you start realizing like there's some consistency in those outliers. And I'm not for everybody. Like at first I wanted to work with anyone who wanted to work with me. But honestly, now, like I look at parents, like I will literally scout the parents. If I am being asked to work with a kid and I see the parents are like crazy, like, they're unreasonable or they ask for more than, what they're willing to give, or maybe they don't even understand like the process of like development, or they're overshooting their child's potential. They think, well, Johnny's got to go Division I. Well, Johnny might not have Division I potential, or Division I character, or attitude, or just ability. But now you're trying to force a circle into a square peg. Like, I just dodge them. I say, hey, you can go work with, such and such, or, sorry, like I'm full right now. Like, I don't tell lies, but I'll just honestly turn them down. So I think parents, I think that was number 2, like they have to be real and honest when it comes to, does my child fit with that particular coach and that coach's style, the type of players that coach works with on a regular basis? Like, can we see ourselves in those players that he's currently working with, or she's currently working with? Of course, there's cost, but I think that cost is overrated. I think people find ways to pay for things they can't afford every day.
Yeah.
So most people are driving cars they can't afford. Most people live in homes they can't afford. They're wearing clothes they can't afford. So I'm not going for that. Like, well, you charge too much. Well, what if I came to your job and told your boss to pay you less? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you understand your value and your worth, then you got to understand when I say that this is where I'm at, right? So I think parents have to take that into account. But your rates actually, to me, are a reflection of what you're supposed to be offering. Yeah. So, if I charge whatever and it's double what this other guy charges, hold me to it.
Yeah.
Compare us. Like, what is it that you're going to give us that he's not or she's not? And if I can't answer that, or the trainer that's trying to recruit you can't answer that, then maybe you should dodge that. Maybe you should avoid that. If you can't see a difference, then what are you doing? Right. And then the last thing, the biggest thing for me is, I'm just really big on like processes. So if a trainer can't actually explain to you their process, like how they plan to evaluate your child, how they plan to develop certain areas within their game, how they plan to even work on certain areas that may already be strengths, like, do you see that trainer or that coach communicating with your child's coaches? Right? Have they ever picked up the phone, got on an email and said, hey, Coach T, like, what does Johnny need to work on this offseason? If they're not doing that, then they're playing God and they're saying, I know better than the one who controls your playing time. Like that. What sense does that make? The coach of the team that your son or daughter is going to play for, they actually have the say so in the future of your child. So the trainer, although they are important, they don't control everything. So they need to be on the same page with the strength and conditioning coach, with the varsity coach, the JV coach, so that everything can work holistically. And a lot of parents will pit the two against each other. I've had parents try to come to me and talk ish about the coaches that coach their child. And I'm like, I'm not the one. Like, I'm going to trust in whatever that coach says. Why? That coach is around them 5 to 6 days a week. I only see you when I see you. Yeah. Right. And you may take for granted that he's benching your son or daughter because you think he's holding something against them, or he just is playing favorites, when really that coach might see something in them in practice that you're not hearing when your child comes home. Yeah. Maybe your child lacks character. Maybe they're inconsistent. Maybe they don't work hard. Maybe they don't handle adversity well. Maybe they're not a good teammate. Those things can't always be revealed in workouts. Yeah. Now, I try to reveal them. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna come straight at you, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. But that's not the run of the mill. So as a parent, you have to want to see everybody like collaborating. And if the trainer's not willing to do that, that is a red flag. Like that is a huge sign that that trainer is immature. They lack humility. They're prideful, and they've never been a part of anything. Like me being a coach and training, I feel it makes me like better than what I was when I was just a trainer 100% of the time.
Yeah.
because I didn't know even how coaches perceived development. Now I understand, like, there's so much more that goes into this than just your skill sets.
That's a good right there. So that helps a lot of parents regarding being able to know what they're getting into as they continue on through the journey of trying to find a trainer to help their child get to that next level. Man, we're already into the 45-minute mark, man. It's just like, man, we just got started on this thing, man. So we'll go a few more minutes, man, but I gotta get you back. Gotta get you back. We might have to turn this into a little once a month type thing. But you've coached NBA players, you've coached WNBA players, you had opportunity to coach, train over in China. What is and with the international players, Luka, Jokic, we're seeing so much international players making such huge impacts in the NBA. What, from your experience, do you see that as the difference between America and overseas? What did you see, man?
Great question. So number one, it's the infrastructure. My time in Asia and, being around European players, because what people don't understand is when you play internationally, you first of all are in whatever national league that country or that region has, right? So, like, for instance, the National League of America is the NBA, technically. We have a national team that goes and plays in the Olympics that represents our country. But outside of that, like, we don't have like the Dallas Mavericks going to go play, Olympiacos or Milan, or, you don't see that. Now, they've started that a little bit, like in preseason, just to like expose the game to more, corners of the world and get more people to become fans. But for the most part, it's not the same. So like overseas, let's say you're in China where I was, or you're in Russia, you will compete maybe once or twice a week. Like I've got clients who, like I said, they play in Europe and all over the world. They'll play a national league game on Tuesday. And if their team is one of the best, and maybe, like, let's say they're a Euro Cup team, or they compete in Euro League competition at the end of the season, they'll play a Sunday game that helps their ranking for that postseason play in the Euro Cup, right? So what are you doing for all those other days? Man, you're practicing. So, like, it's a completely different structure when you just talk about the schedule, because the amount of time that our players spend playing in ratio to practice versus internationally, players just receiving instruction, understanding breakdowns, concepts, doing things 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and 5-on-5 versus just playing, and then training individually with like a skills coach. It's so vastly different that when you do get a Luka or a Jokic or any of these other great players that you see coming into the NBA and even into college basketball now, you're going to see like a huge parity in their ability to like involve their teammates, react to different situations, and the game is just slower for them. Also, I mean, if you just think about the culture of the United States versus other parts of the world, like, we are the outlier. We're the outcast. A lot of people think that the rest of the world is trying to be like us. That's pop culture. That's like media, that's music, entertainment. But politically, athletically, yeah, somewhat. But like, since the Dream Team and the '92 Olympics, like, the rest of the world has caught up in a lot of ways. And in some ways, they've surpassed us. So when it comes to just the community and the culture of the rest of the world, they are a lot more connected than we are. Like, I was in China for 3 years. So, some people might want to talk about socialism or communism, and it's like a big deal in some circles that will cause division. I lived it. It's not something I read in a book.
Yeah.
Like during the games, the national anthem comes on. You don't choose what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, kneel if you want. Don't look at the flag if you want. And trust me, like, as a Black man, I understand the things that we have had to go through in this country. I'm a historian. I understand how our ancestors have had to fight. But when you look at the different cultures around the world, their lack of like flexibility in certain areas and the family aspect and how important that is, and the like all for one for all approach, it is interwoven into everything. So as a player, Luka is gonna have way more like of a third eye when he's on the court with his teammates playing in Spain and these different places that he came up playing in.
Yeah.
The Gasol brothers, Rudy Fernandez, you go on, Ricky Rubio, like you go on and on. They play a certain way because that's also the way they were raised. It's not just basketball. The patience, the not necessarily always being as marketable, not necessarily even having like such a great one-on-one game. That's why Luka is such a marvel, because he has both, right?
Yeah.
He has the ability to manipulate the game, but also he isolates like a James Harden when Harden was with Houston. So like the game is different, I think, because of multiple reasons. One being the culture just of that specific country or that region and that people group. And then also the structure of scheduling within the pro levels, how much they practice. Coaches have a lot more power overseas too. Like I would compare international basketball more to college basketball here in the United States. So the way that coaches impact the game when you watch a Duke or a Carolina or whatever other school you're watching during March Madness, and the coaches yelling from the sidelines, calling out plays, calling out, different concepts and things that he wants that team to run, controlling the clock. The court is packed in, right? You can stand in the key for more than 3 seconds. You can knock the ball off the rim. A lot more hand checking. It's physical. It's not really set up for just free flow and one-on-one and spacing.
Yeah.
You have to do more in tight spaces. And then too, like your stars don't play 40 minutes. Our stars in China, for instance, my first year there, we had Kyle Fogg, who played at University of Arizona, well-traveled veteran, played all over the world, but made his home in China. And so he was a vet there and was making astronomical amount of money for China, a couple million. He's a 3-time champ now with the Liaoning Leopards, right? Since leaving our team in Beijing. He was our star. We rode him. He was like our workhorse, but even he didn't play like every single minute of every single game. We only had 3 or 4 Americans on the team. So based on the game and the matchups, you have to play chess and figure out if you're going to lead with your big this game or if you're going to lead with somebody like Kyle Fogg, because we need him at the 1. Some quarters, you might have both of them out there, right? When I first took a job as an assistant with Beijing, we were the last place team in the league the year before. So we were allowed to play 3 imports for 3 quarters. So that gave us an advantage. Then you had some guys who were dual citizens. You had like a Chinese or Asian born player, but he grew up playing in the States. So now he counted as a national player. He wasn't an import. So then that's basically like an extra, foreigner on the court. Like all of these little things put the power in the hand of the coach, because the stars are not just out there kind of controlling the ebb and the flow of the game. You have to understand, like, he's already played for 2.5 quarters. We can't play all 3 quarters, first, second, and third. We need him in the 4th. So now you got to pull him. Then the other coach is reacting to you pulling your guy. He might go run with his horse, and it's so much. You see zones, you see things that you don't see in the NBA because coaches have to become a lot more ingenious and use their intelligence to try to find ways to get around what you're doing, right? And the fan love is at another level, because here you're playing for an organization that's owned by billionaires, and that's kind of it. You might represent Dallas while there's a Houston and a San Antonio. Over there, you're playing for your whole country potentially, or you're playing for this region within this country. And so it's like, it really models soccer where the rivalries are super strong. The fans become like the 6th man on the court. You feel them like they're right behind you. It's a lot more pride and everything. So, and then too, like the money is not as astronomical when it comes to the player salaries. So you're playing for your livelihood a lot of times versus someone who just signed a max deal and he's being paid 20 times what the coach is being paid. So he has the leverage. Like players in the NBA are the commodity. They are the investment. So really the coach is like a manager of some sorts. They're trying to just, you know, be the in-between between the general manager and the guys on the court. They're communicating the wishes of the front office, but they also have to make sure the players are in position to do what they need to do. So overseas, no, like coaches, they're getting paid more than the players 9 times out of 10. So you need them, right? Their job security might be set if they're a winning coach. So, man, I could keep going with just the differences, but it was an amazing experience. And then obviously having some opportunities to, you know, now be a consultant and to have relationships with certain NBA organizations, G League teams. Like I've begun to see that actually the game is becoming more fluid. So you're going to see more international influence on the NBA. And you already see it in college. Like college is professional.
Yeah.
And it actually looks a lot like an international structure because now as a head coach, you have to be a GM. You have to manage cap space with your NIL collective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's turnover every year now instead of I've got 4 years with these guys. And if they leave, they got to sit out. No, players have the leverage now to say, if I leave, I'm playing next year. So what are you going to do to keep me?
Yeah.
So, again, my fault for rambling, but
no. This is what we're about, man. I'm really just sitting here thinking, man. Now that JJ Redick is the coach of the Lakers, I'm not sure if that podcast with him and LeBron is going to continue. So we might just have to step in and take that space.
well, they better keep it going. And here's why: because if they don't, it's going to look
suspect.
It won't look good. You know,
it's going to look
like that was a play to get him in that spot. I respect it. I think it was a good podcast, but yeah, man, I don't know how they do it if he's coaching Bron, but they got to figure it out.
Yeah, and if it fades off, we can step into it. We just like Bake, GB went to Africa, we can step right in to take that podcast. We can talk some X's and O's, baby. Hey, look, I get ready to kind of shut it down. We're at the 57-minute mark. Man, you have brought in. The numbers have been steady, man. They're loving what you're saying. They're loving what you're bringing, the energy and the knowledge that you're bringing. One of the things that Bake shared with us before is that for every one game played, the player should have 3 workouts. Mm-hmm. Internationally, they look at it in this way: for every one game played, the player should have 5 workouts, which is why the skill set overseas and with the international players is so much better than what we see over here in America. But it's guys like us and upcoming trainers and those guys, Tyler Refs and the Ryan Goodsons and those guys out there and many more good trainers out there that have to continue to push forward and make sure that we are developing the players to be able to reach their goals and to be able to better the game overall in the long term. Hey man, we're getting ready to shut it down. Like I said, man, I look forward to doing this more often with you. It's been absolutely amazing, man. You're highly respected across the continents, across the WNBA, the NBA, the college game, the shoe perils. You're the man. You're the man. Like when somebody said over on IG, Korey Harris the GOAT, and I salute you, my brother, because you are absolutely I can't speak highly enough for you. Like I tell people all the time, you're looking for a trainer in Atlanta. It's nobody else that I even think about second, when it comes to sending somebody to someone in Atlanta, and that's you, my brother. So I thank you, man, for being a friend. We have so much more to share with the world and through this podcast, and I definitely want to make sure that we're doing it more. But any parting words for our audience tonight?
Yeah, for sure, T. First off, thank you for the flowers. Thank you for always believing in me, even when I didn't know what I was doing, and you were just like a big brother. Like, come on, Cole, you can't be playing music with curse words in the gym with your clients. Back when I just didn't know. You've always been there, just kind of like being steady. But parting words, man, just don't be afraid to fail. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing for anybody out there. You got to get messy. You got to make some mistakes. You got to fall flat on your face. You do have to get over the fear of embarrassment if you want to be, impactful. I think we talk about being great a lot, and I think that's kind of like becoming played out. Like we overuse that, and you should just want to like leave a mark. That is greatness. But the only way to do that is you can't fear what people think about you. And the way to get over that is just to fall forward. So if there's somebody out there watching this and you struggle from any type of anxiety, if you're worried about, how you're going to look, if you reach for, that thing that's in your heart, understand from me to you, I've been through it. I'm still going through it. Like if you fall, you're falling forward as long as you're reaching. So that's the best thing I can give everybody out there, my brother. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
All right. Look, check this out. The Champions Podcast, another episode going down. And always remember, everyone wants the champion's power, but nobody wants the champion's pain. Hey, look, if you're looking for a trainer out there in ATL, hot Atlanta, and it's hot, it is very hot, not just hot in the block, but it's hot weather-wise. Hey, hook up with my boy Korey Harris. Go check him out on Instagram. Check him out on X. Go ahead, give your Instagram and your X before we get up out of here, Cole.
For sure. You can follow me on Instagram at The Transition. That's just one word, The Transition _. I'm on X at Korey Harris. You can see it here, KoreyHarris all together. And also transitionbball.com is our landing page, and you can find out more information on all of our services. We've got a coaching curriculum as well as some training tools for all the players out there.
There you have it. He's the man, Korey Harris. Go check him out. Hey, look, we might have to get some more camps going, bro.
Let's figure it out, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, Champions audience, Champions Podcast audience, you will see this face again. You will see my guy Korey Harris again. And hey, look, this might be a ongoing thing if LeBron and JJ know how to push their podcast to the side. We're just gonna step on in and we're gonna take care of that podcast, and we're gonna step in and do it for you, right here on the Champions Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for everything. And we will see you on the next edition of the Champions Podcast. Peace.